how to create a Power Five. And, I was looking for some companies to add to my Power Five because I want to replace Boeing and Peloton. Um, just because, share price moves, of course, that's what we want it to do. We want it to go up typically, unless we have a put option. And then, of course, we want it to go down. But, um, companies have a natural range that they typically have. And I've just not been doing well with Boeing or with Peloton because the range has changed since I added them to my Power Five. And so it's time for me to reevaluate my Power Five. And I think this is something that you should do at least once a year, but probably more, depending on the company. So something like Neo, I've been pretty involved with Neo, and so I don't really need to reevaluate them because I've been consistently changing, um, consistently following the movement of the Neo share price, since they've been like just running crazy the last several months. But I suspect that that will cool off a little bit, and then we'll start seeing some new higher highs, of course. Um, I want them to continue to exceed all expectations because you guys already know I love Neo with a passion. Um, but I think it's time for me to start reevaluating some companies and um, looking for other companies to include in my Power Five. So pick 5 companies. Now, these are not going to be Circle of 20 quality companies necessarily. So we're not going to talk about the metric side of this. You guys all know how to evaluate a company. It doesn't have to be Circle of 20 quality. If you're thinking of something like Uber or Square, you probably don't, I hope you don't have them in your Circle of 20. Good Lord, please don't. But, they're companies that we play often when we're talking about derivatives. And I think that having a company like Square in your Power Five is a good idea, only because, it's easy to buy options, whether that's a call or a put option on them. And I think Court is a good example. He plays Square all the time. I, on the other hand, have not been able to actually play them successfully ever. So let's look at Square. I was looking at Pinterest here because I was going to consider them, but they're doing some weird stuff here. And so honestly, I really think that I will include them in my Power Five for a while just to kind of see, but their range seems to be about 50 to, no, what was it? 55 to 60, 50. I don't even know. I can't even remember. I'll have to go back and look at it, but let's look at Square. So I pull it up on Google, just putting the ticker and stock behind it. And I also pull up Yahoo Finance, and I pull up Market Watch and look there as well. I really like Market Watch just because it's a little bit easier to read. This is where I go to find my options quotes in the morning. So I think it's just a little bit easier as far as reading the information. It's a little bit more readable. But when we're looking at the share price, you kind of just want to see how the share price moves. Now, this is a good example. If we look at Friday, which was a half day because of Thanksgiving and Black Friday, it doesn't look like Square did all too well. They only were down 0.19, but, we see some pretty dramatic moves in the share price. So even looking at a 5-day chart, it's still pretty dramatic, where you have a lot of volatility in the share price. So I like to look at 1 month and the 6-month chart, and sometimes even I look at year to date and 1 year, this is going to give you a better overall view of what the share price has done. You can see it has although there's a lot of volatility in the share price, it has steadily inclined over the last year. And then even if you're looking at the last 5 years, of course, we know in March, everything kind of tanked there due to COVID, but we're starting to see a pretty sharp incline in the share price. So if we're looking at the 1 month chart, I kind of just hover and look to see where the price has gone. So in comparison to where it is at the last closing price. So it started the month around 155, and then it went up to almost 200. It's like a $50 increase in 6 days almost. Good Lord, that's a lot of money. Also, make sure that you're looking at the 52-week high and the 52-week low. So low is 32.33, but 215 is the 52-week high. So we're at 212 and 212.52. So we're almost at the 52-week high. So what is happening right now that would make us think that Square is going to run past their 52-week high? So we have to have some sort of catalyst, whether that's news, it's some new technology, or something that's going to make the share price appreciate past their 52-week high. You know, there's probably something. Let's look at this chart. So their typical range seems to be in the 175 to 185-ish range. That seems pretty natural. I feel like this 212 is, you know, a lot of the Bitcoin news that's come out recently. And I believe Square has decided to purchase someone. Let's see. Yeah, right here. So they're going to acquire Credit Karma's tax business as part of Intuit deal, DOJ approved. So I haven't actually read this article. Oh, it's not even there. Hold on. Sir. I can't even click that anymore. Oh, wait, here we go. Okay, so this explains why they were down on Friday, because a lot of companies were up or moved sideways on Friday. Okay. So what do we know typically about mergers and acquisitions? So when a company is acquiring another company, the company that is purchasing generally sees a drop in their share price because now they're acquiring more debt. They're taking on the debt of the business they're buying, and they're having to spend money, or, you know, sometimes they purchase with shares, but they're having to buy another company. And so that's going to affect their bottom line. It's going to affect their cash flow. And so, is this news enough to make their share price continue to appreciate past 215? You know, I don't know, because typically we see a decline in the share price when they're purchasing another company. So I don't suspect that Square's share price is going to run up much more than it has in, you know, this is just what, 2 weeks? So it's gone up, and then they reached the deal on the 25th, and it went up 2 cents and then it started to decline barely. So I think that this is probably going to continue to decline. Now it's 5:41 on a Sunday. So pre-market opens or futures market will start updating around 6:30. So that'll help me kind of determine that. So based on this, I'm pretty comfortable saying that their natural range is about 175 to 185. So when Square's share price gets near 175, I am comfortable purchasing a call. Now, when it gets to 185 or above, then I can start considering purchasing a put. And like literally, it's that simple. Figure out the natural range of the company. Now, that's not going to be perfect. This is just based on 6 months worth of information on a company that has a steady incline. And so it's not going to be perfect because, in 2 months from now, their new 52-week high could be 250. And I may need to adjust it, which is why I said this is something that you're going to have to reevaluate over time. Now, if you're in the Discord group, which this video is for Discord, but I'm sure it will get out to others eventually, we have the benefit of our bots. And so I can actually go look to see where the support and resistance is for Square. If I could type, that would be great. And so, the first support is 202. That means nothing to me. I have no idea what that means. But, I think this is new support based, I'm not comfortable with that because when's the last time that this got to 215? Like, when did it get to 215? Probably on Friday for like a hot second, and then it started going back down. And I probably would see that better if I was looking at something like Webull or something. Oh, let's see. Trading View. Use the tools that you have at your disposal. I want to look at the bar chart. Guys, I don't know I don't do charts. How do I do this? Can I do that on this? Oh, can I do it in? Technical difficulties. Let's look at candlesticks. Oh goodness. Why is so small? Yep. Okay, so that makes more sense. Friday, they hit a new 52-week high at 215 for like a hot second, and then it started going back down a little bit. So, could they possibly increase in share price beyond that 215? Possibly. I don't know how likely it is. So these new support levels are based on current information. I'm looking at an overall idea of how the share price normally moves. And it's safe to say that pretty consistently, they have been within this range. They were in the range here, and then it shot up, but then it came back down to within that range, a little bit beyond that range. And so when it hits 175, that does not mean I'm going to jump in and buy a call because it hit 175. That means I'm going to start paying attention and looking for my entry. So once I see it start moving back up, then I go purchase my call. And I think that's where a lot of us get in trouble is we see it falling and we're like, all right, it's falling. So what goes down must go back up. Yes, that's true. It will go back up eventually, but it could take it a while. And so you don't want to buy it midway and it continue to fall. So wait for it to start bottoming out and then turn around and start going back up before you enter the play. I can't stress anything beyond that. That is what I have gotten really good with as far as playing Neo. Neo has a wild range, and we've seen that. But for a long time, they would be around $43, but they would go down to 39 sometimes or 40. So yes, their normal range is about at that time 43 to 50, 43 to 48, honestly. But it could go beyond that 43, lower than that, or it could go higher than that 48. And so for this, it's 175 to 185, but it could go to 170 and it could go to 200. And so that doesn't mean when it hits 185, you buy a put because we know that it could keep running up and that's a waste of your money. And there's no guarantee that by the time your option expires that it's going to move in the direction you want it to. And so it's really just waiting on the entry. And this is a way that you can um, enter the play without knowing much about TA. I don't know anything about TA, but I know that when it gets to around the number that I know that it is within its natural range, it's time for me to start paying attention. And then I start looking for my entry. I don't wait for it to get to 175 and then I buy the call. That's not how this works. Um, so if I can't stress anything enough, it is do not buy it when it hits your number. That's when you start paying attention. Um, and honestly, you just do this for 5 companies. Go through, like, I don't do a whole bunch of craziness. I really just go look to see what's the natural range for the share, for the company. Where's the share price normally kind of sit? And for this, that's pretty consistent since about, you know, what is this, October through the end of November or mid-November. That's a pretty good idea of where that range is. And then, you know, you as you get comfortable playing this, you may be able to fine tune it. Like with Neo, I'm really quick to tell you guys like Friday mornings, Neo typically runs up by around 1 o'clock. It starts going down. It's a good entry during power hour, like all of these things. And that's because I started with a broader range with Neo. And now I'm more comfortable because I've played it so often, because it's a part of my Power Five, that I've gotten really good with entries and exits on them. Now, I will say, don't play anything unless you have a day trade or you're entering during power hour or PDT doesn't apply to you, because my first loss ever with Neo happened this week because I didn't have a day trade, and then the next day it was down because holiday, so volumes were weird. It was the first time I ever lost with Neo, and that's my own fault. Lesson learned, you know, whatever. But that's how you make a Power Five. Like, keep it simple, don't stress out too much about it, figure out what their range is, and then once it hits that range, whether it's the upper or lower part of that range, start paying attention and looking for an entry. That's it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, of course. I learned this from Court, so he's like the pro on this, but I'm pretty okay as well. So let me know if you have questions. Thanks, guys. Bye.